Hi, this is Steve Doubleday, and this is our third video, and we're going to talk about where we get the source code from and how we get it over to Gordon to run. If you hear rain in the background, it's because it's fall in Southern California, and we actually do get rain once in a while. All right, so we're logged into Gordon, but to get this part started, we got to have something on our local machine. Now, this next process is really geared to Macs and Unix-based machines, but logically, it's there's a corresponding version for Windows as well. So on my local machine, let's see where I am. Okay, I'm in my home directory. There should be something called R under this. Go to R, and under R, I've got a bunch of things, but in particular what I'm interested in is this net directory. So by convention, this code is all in the net directory, and I'm gonna pretend like I'm gonna do this from ground up. So if you haven't been playing around with this recently, you haven't done anything recently, probably best to just save off what you have and start over again. Let's assume, however, that you have been doing something and you really wanted to keep track of it. We'll do that first version right now. So we're going to change to the net directory, and it's got a bunch of stuff in it. But the question is this stuff in sync with our source code directory? Our source code is on Git, and on this wiki page there's a discussion about how you get set up for Git. Sharing code with Git. I'm not going to go through all the gory details on that because I'm going to assume that you've already mostly got something going there. But let's assume that we had been working on something and we'd like to know, what's up. So look, if we do git status, in this case it tells me there's nothing to commit. So I haven't made any changes here, and if I pull from the main Git repository, it should tell me any minute now that I'm already up to date. So in this particular case, this particular directory is actually clean, but we're going to pretend as if we didn't really know what its status was and we didn't really want to worry about it too much. We just like to get it out of the way and start over again. All right, so in this case, I'm going to move net to something like old net 2. And now when I list things, I don't have a net directory anymore. So I'm going to pretend like we're going to start over from scratch. So the magic words for that are this git clone, and then this is the URL for the Git directory where the code lives. If you've already got access to it, great. If you don't have access to it, you're probably going to have to ask me, and you can send me an email at stevedoubleday@gmail.com if you'd like to get access and don't currently have it. Alright, so we're going to clone this. We're going to clone it, and by default it's going to create a net directory wherever we were. Now this is all happening on my local machine because that's where most of the work is actually going to happen. So if we now do ls, there's a net directory that's just been created. If I go to it, I'll see a bunch of stuff. Okay, so now what have we done? We've created a net directory that is in sync with the source code repository. So everything that has been done and shared in the source code repository is now on my machine. What I'd like to do is take all that and shove it over there on Gordon. So let's go back up. I want to get to the level above the net directory where I can see the net directory, and then I'm going to tar it up. Alright, so commands for that are down here. We're basically in this step 4 here, and we'll be a little hen house. Instead of trying to remember all the syntax, we're just going to copy it and paste it there. All right. So what's our syntax? Tar. This is zip it. I don't know, copy or compress it, and VNF. I don't remember what those are, but you need them in that order. And let's give it a date of today's date. Today being something like wrong month, October 11th, 2012. All right. It's going to create a file by this with this name, and it's just taking. I'm just pointing it to the net directory that we just created. That's what it's going to copy, and it's going to create this new net-1011-2012 tar file. So, all right. So now, when we list this, I should see one out here, and I do. Okay. So now we got to copy that over to Gordon, and there's a command for that as well. Go back to the wiki, steal that. And we're going to need this whole mess there. And I'm going to have to change some things. All right, so first off, got to go back to the beginning and change the date to what we gave it. So we said we're going to create it as of today, 2012. And then we're So what's this do? A secure copy copies a file. In this case, it's a tar file. And where does it copy it to? It copies it to a user ID on a remote machine. In this case, it's SJDayday. Notice that after we get past the Gordon piece, we have /home/your-user, and that's got to be SJDayday again. /r, and that was one of the directories we created in our last video. Okay, so we're ready to run this. It's going to prompt us for a password. And alright, so it's copied it over there. Now let's go back to the Gordon side. Let's do a list. Notice that we now have a file here. Before we just had the output directory, now we've got this file. We have a command to uncompress it, and that's in this next line here. And this one is sort of like the last tar command, but shorter. Explain why in a second. So 10/11/2012. Okay, so this is the same parameters except that instead of compress, it's X for extract. And we extract it, and we don't have, all we do is give it the file name, and when we extract it, it knows what it compressed. It compressed the net directory. So it's going to create a net directory. If you already had a net directory, it's going to cheerfully overlay it. So in this case, and generally that's what you're going to want to do, because you'd always like to get a fresh version out there on Gordon of whatever you got. Okay, so off we go. That has run. Let's take a look at what we got. Now we had a tar file, and you could delete this now if you wanted to. It's probably neater, so let's remove that net dash. And all right, so now we just have two directories. If we give a more expanded listing, it shows us they're both directories. They have D over here. It says that's a directory. We have a net directory and an out directory. If we go to the net directory, it has a bunch of files on it, which look an awful lot like the files we saw on our own home machine. So we've now moved all of the source code over to Gordon. And that's it for this step. Join me for video number 4, and we'll go on to the next thing.